guys and say what's up. I want you to do me a favor before I get going. Make sure that you tell your friends that we are currently live. We are on overtime. We are excited to wait for them, but we can't wait forever. So do this. If you're on Facebook Live, share the story, invite some of your friends. If you're on IG Live, make sure you start letting people know right now that overtime is going down. And make sure you tell me where you're coming from. Where you guys coming from? We have a lot of Californians that pop their head in from all over Cali, and I appreciate it. But at the same time, I'm starting to realize that we are getting a lot of people from out of state chiming in. So I appreciate you guys. And for everybody that's going to end up watching this like on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, I want to thank you guys too, because I see your comments. Even though you guys comment late, I still see your comments. So it's still good. It's good to have you guys and be a part of our overtime experience. So again, I'm Terrell Fletcher. I'm the pastor of the City of Hope International Church, and every Sunday around this time, I try to give a quick recap about what we talked about. Sometimes it's just taking one point, maybe it's about something else that's happening in the world, but I want to make sure that we talk today about this idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness. That's what I spent time on this morning. I spent time discussing this woman in the Bible who was caught in adultery, and the guys were going to stone her when they caught her in adultery. And Jesus said the famous line, "He that's without sin, let them throw the first stone." And that was kind of Jesus's way of saying, if you ain't never offended nobody, and if you've never messed up or broken the law or hurt somebody's feelings, he said, you go right ahead and stone them. But if you have, he said, put your rocks down. So I want to spend a few minutes discussing unforgiveness. I want to spend some time discussing unforgiveness because I heard one person put it like this, that not forgiving somebody is like drinking poison, wishing that the other person dies. Like me drinking the poison, hoping that you, the person that offended me, dies. What they're trying to say is like forgiveness is a tool that is out in the universe that God gave us so that we can help alleviate the pressures that's associated with holding on to offense. Offense is a dangerous thing, man. Offense is like a cancer that lives in your psyche. It lives in your heart. It lives in your mind. Like when a person has chosen to be offended, like there are not many people more bitter than the people that have chosen and made up in their mind that they're going to stay offended. You know, you cannot please an offended person. Some of you guys probably know a handful of offended people that just they are in perpetual bitter mode. And when you ask them why, it's because, oh, these people don't like me. Or when you ask them why, oh, they get on my nerves. And when you ask them why, it's always some kind of way that they've been offended. And I talk today about trying our best not to live in offense, but actually trying our best to forgive. To forgive. The Bible, when it talks about forgiveness, it talks about letting it go or pardoning. It's a legal word that basically means to pardon, or it means to release somebody from a punitive obligation. So when God talks about forgiving, he's saying that, hey, he's not denying that an offense took place. When God tells us that he wants us to forgive, he's not saying that somebody didn't hurt us or somebody didn't talk crazy about us or none of that. It's not a matter of ignoring the offense, but he is saying that you cannot carry this offense with you everywhere you go. And that's unfortunately one of the things that too many of us do, almost to a normative. We just carry offense. I talked earlier about this idea of memorializing offenses. And what does it mean when I say memorialize offense? It's one of the reasons why we don't forgive is because we have this tendency to believe that if I let it go, then I'm dishonoring my process. That this is a part of my story. You know how people say that all the time. And we use that in an unbalanced way. is that while yes, being hurt is a part of your story, but hurt is never supposed to be the story. And we allow it to be the story. We memorialize the wound. We never let the scar heal up. We never let the scar heal up. And the reason why the scar never heals up and the reason why a scar can stay fresh is because we choose not to forgive. I don't know why it is that we feel like, hey, man, I got to keep telling the world why this person hurt me. And I got to keep reminding myself so that I never get hurt like that again. I don't know why we feel like that is necessary. I don't think that it's necessary. The Bible teaches us that it's not necessary. You can get past this stuff and let some of it go. You can live whole. But let me tell you something about healing and unforgiveness. If you don't forgive right, you cannot heal right. If you don't forgive right, it's impossible to heal right. So forgiveness is a part of the process of getting toward healing. It is a part of the journey of getting toward emotional wholeness, emotional healing. So some years back when I was, I went to this guy, this counselor, to help me through a real difficult season of my life. And he's actually one of my favorite people on the planet to this day. But I went to go hang out with him and spend some time with him during a real tough season of my life. And one of the questions that he asked me, he says, this is a standard question, Terrell. Say, but I need to know before we move forward, who in your life have you not forgiven? Say, who in your life? Is it a parent? Is it the obvious, obviously? Is it, a friend? Is it who have you not forgiven? Is it you? And he helped me understand that it was important for me to explore this idea of letting offense go because I can never heal right if I don't forgive right. And that's where he was trying to get. He said, let's work through all of the stuff and the people that you got to let go. Let's work through the hurt that you got to get through. Let's work through the minutia that you filter your personal lens through. Because when you don't forgive, and when you don't forgive, it makes you suspicious. And when you don't forgive, it makes you hardened. And when you don't forgive, it puts other people through a test that they don't deserve to have to go through to get to your heart or to get to your head or to get to your best parts. And that's what unforgiveness does. And God is like, you don't have to live your life that way. When we choose not to forgive, we build up walls and barriers, and it makes us these bitter, ungrateful types of individuals. And in order to get to the best of us, we force somebody to climb these hurdles that they didn't build just to be a friend, or just to be a lover, or just to be a pastor, or just to be a content voice in their lives. And that's what unforgiveness does. And we talked about that. We talked about letting it go. The other thing we talked about, and I think this is important, and I want to unpack this for a few minutes, is the idea of allowing vengeance to be God's work and not our own. I'm a control freak. I'm a guy, I've been pretty much in business for my whole life. After I got finished out of the NFL, I've been some kind of entrepreneur, I've been a pastor in some form or fashion. So I'm used to being at the front of decision making. I'm used to being a voice and a seat at the table. I've been that for 20 plus years of my life. And I realized that my social experience, sometimes I bring into my spiritual experience. And I tell God that I want to be at the seat of the table for this decision that you're making in my life. And I've had to check my control. I've had to check my sense of being in command of my own life so much to the degree that God has no influence in my life. I've got to watch that. That's an admission for me to you. But so when it comes to being offended, that part of my character kicks in. And immediately when I'm offended, the aspect of me that wants to balance the scales kicks in. So now I want to get you. Like, if you got me, I want to get you. I know I'm a pastor. I know I love Jesus, all that stuff. But trust me, I might not have got you because the Lord helped me get over it. But if you got me, I wanted to get you. And that's just the reality of it. That's how I, but then I understood something about Scripture that the scripture said that the vengeance is the Lord's. He says, let me have it. He says, because you're not going to get anybody back and still be right. You're not going to be able to make somebody hurt the way you hurt it when they offended you, and you still be considered right. If it was an offense to hurt you, it's an offense for you to hurt them back. So what God says is, God says, hey, let me take control of this offense. Let me take control of it. He says, you go on and live free and let me deal with how they handle their lives, because vengeance should be mine, says the Lord. He said, don't rob me of the responsibility of taking care of something that you as a human being are incapable of taking care of, and that is offense. He said, let me handle the offense. When I was 19 years old, some of you guys know this story. When I was 19, I got into a fist fight and got into some trouble, and I got arrested in the process. And the kid was hurt pretty bad. And when we were in court together, some months had passed. He'd healed up, and I hadn't heard from him. We knew we were going to be in court, but we hadn't heard from the guy. And he was really quiet about it. Our attorneys had sent some notices over to his attorneys, and they were just quiet. Essentially, they said, we'll see you in court. They didn't want to negotiate. They didn't want to, So when we went down to court, I'm looking at this young guy, and he looks okay. He looks like he's back together. He's whole and he's healed. I'm sitting in the place, and I'm thinking to myself, it looks like everything's okay. He's fine. I'm fine. We were two kids that got into a fight, and, XYZ happened to him. Let's just go. And what the judge said, and I imagine that the judge kind of have seen this happen a lot of times in his court, but he said to us something to this effect. He said, Mr. Fletcher, I bet you're wondering why I have to levy this sentence onto you, considering the fact that this young man's bruises are gone, he's healed up, surgery went well, and he looks like he's doing okay. He says, I bet you're wondering, why can't we just let bygones be bygones? Both of you guys are kids. He hit you, you hit him back. Stuff happens. Why can't we just keep on going? And he said, because the weight of your offense toward him necessitates that I, as a judge, have to balance the scale. Say, look good today, but it wasn't that the 3 months leading up to this moment. And as a judge, my job is to balance the weight of the crime. And then they gave me my sentence, and I felt the way I felt about it. And years later, I think I understand. I think I got it. Many years later, it struck me and it hit me. What that guy did was what God asked us all to do. He said, don't retaliate. Don't try to make it even, because the likelihood is that you're not going to offend as hard as they offended you without you getting out of character. He says, so keep your hands off of it, which is what the guy did. Wouldn't return our call, just kept his hands off of it. And he trusted that the judge would make right what I, the offender, made wrong. And the judge essentially said what God says to us. He says, keep your hands off of people, because now you become an offender. Keep your mouth off of people, because now you become an offender. He says, keep your vengeance off of people, because then I got to deal with you. So he says, let me handle vengeance. I'll be the judge, and I'll be the keeper of righteousness. And in some moment in time of their life, when maybe you're not around, and maybe you are around to see it, but in some time of their life, I'll start moving on their heart and in their life in a way that balances the equality of the offense that happened to you. But vengeance is mine, said the Lord. He says, so what your responsibility is in an offense is to forgive and to let God handle the vengeance part. And if it's going to happen, if you ever see it happen, what is that to you? God said our part is that we forgive. So now, Thanksgiving is coming up in a few weeks. And I need you to forgive your aunt. I need you to let your uncle off the hook. I need you to let your mom and them and your granddad. I need you to let your little brother off the hook. I don't want Thanksgiving to be cold because you can't forgive. I don't want the next holiday to be cold because you can't let it go. Even if they don't apologize, it's time for you to let it go because you are a prisoner in a prison that you're trying to put them in. It's like drinking poison, wishing that they die. Doesn't work like that. You don't get to drink that cup. You don't get to drink that cup. So that's it. I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for watching. Listen, if you enjoyed this stuff, make sure you share it with as many people as you can. Thank you guys. If you enjoy this, make sure you share this with as many people as you can. Repost it on your page. Share it with people that you think would appreciate it. Listen, if you've got a large cachet of followers and people that enjoy what you do, I would be honored if you would leverage your influence to help get this good word out that lifts people's lives and challenges people's lives. Put it in your private chats. Put it in your groups on Facebook, your Facebook groups. Let people know that, man, we got some teaching that can really challenge our lives and heal us and make us whole. And it's in regular English. I speak English. I do not speak King James. I speak English. And I try to help us understand biblical principles in a very practical way. My prayer for you is that you walk in forgiveness at the highest level of forgiveness you possibly could walk in because you deserve to be free.